If you were 2-7, you'd be in a bad mood too.
Whoa, he has trouble with the snap, and the ball is free. And he hits the upright again. That's impossible.
Get your mouth shut. Get your mouth shut. Jerk.
The Bears' season's going to end on a double doink.
If worms had machine guns, then birds wouldn't be scared of them.
Hey, how's everyone doing out there? Welcome to a Word Home Media presentation of Limp Ditka's podcast. I'm Pete.
I'm Ryan. Welcome to the Limp Ditka's podcast. Just a couple of Chicago pricks united by our hatred of the University of Michigan football and the Chicago Bears. It has been a couple weeks since we did a podcast, so we're a little rusty trying to figure this out again. Not that we were very polished before, but there has been a shitload of news over the last couple weeks. Obviously, we've had the NFL playoffs. So much to talk about there that we'll get into right away. And I've got maybe even more news with the Lions. They basically are a brand new organization as of this week. Everything has changed in the front office and the coaching staff at quarterback, potentially.
They're out of their element.
Yeah. Tons to talk about there. Good one. So let's go ahead and jump into the news. I think the obvious thing is our Super Bowl matchup between the elderly Tom Brady, who seems to be younger than anyone else in the league somehow, and
Maybe
the TOMpa Bay Buccaneers.
TOMpa Bay, yeah.
Tom Brady, I saw the stat the other day. Tom Brady will now be in 18% of the Super Bowls.
That's great.
It's hard to fathom. Like, of all Super Bowls ever played, Tom Brady has been in 18% of them.
That's exciting. Not really.
My God. Yeah. And of course, my predicted winner of it all, once again, the Kansas City Chiefs. I think they're well on their way to their second championship in a row, but how did we get here? We haven't talked about the divisional round. We came to you after the wild card round. We didn't talk about everything that happened in the division round of the playoffs 2 weeks ago. I don't know if you have some thoughts about what you saw over the last couple of weeks.
I don't even know if I can remember the division round.
Yeah,
I know my Super Bowl sort of upset team there was the Baltimore Ravens, because I thought Lamar Jackson was going to work his magic easily against the Bills. Of course, he wasn't able to stay in the entire game not because he needed to take a shit, but because he became concussed.
Yeah, I think you had a shot at that until he was concussed. I felt bad about that whole situation, but
so the Bills and their mafia and their injuring themselves on tables continued onward to the next round. That game didn't turn out to be quite as exciting as I thought it was going to be, but that was part of the problem, was Lamar Jackson not being in the game. But the Bulls, you got to give the Bills defense some credit. I mean, they did do a pretty good job of holding him in check, which seemed to be impossible the last few weeks of the season and early on in the playoffs. So yeah, they did a nice job there.
17-3. Yeah, it was a defensive struggle, a rock fight. Yeah, I was excited about that game and kind of surprised at how Buffalo was able to curtail that offense. But yeah, so much of it, as soon as Jackson went out with a concussion and was ruled out did he miss the entire second half, I think?
Almost the entire second
You just
half,
knew
yeah.
it wasn't going to work out. I forgot who their backup quarterback was, but I don't know. I was kind of rooting for the Bills at that point and throughout the playoffs, just because they're kind of the poster child for terrible teams. Haven't had much success over the last couple of decades, so I kind of feel good for them moving further in the playoffs, but didn't get much further past that. I don't know. Do you have any other thoughts about the divisional round? Let's see. I've got the scores here written down. Tampa Bay beat New Orleans 30-20.
Yeah, that was another one. I thought for sure that the New Orleans defense would keep Grandpa in check.
No chance.
And Breezy would, at least get to the championship round in his final season. But yeah, that was another surprise for me. There was that game.
Did we see the end of the Drew Brees era? Because he looked like a mess out there and just not able to perform up to his typical NFL Hall of Fame standards. Or is he just beat up at the end of a long season where he had, broken ribs and who knows what else he was dealing with?
No, I think that's it. I think he said he's out.
Is he out?
Yeah, he's retiring. So
I hadn't heard that. Okay.
Yeah.
I missed that completely. Wow.
Yeah.
End of an era. We had the other game in the NFC was Green Bay 32, Los Angeles Rams 18.
Yeah, I mean, and I wasn't surprised by that by any stretch.
Yeah.
I know some people were really high on the Rams defense, but Aaron Rodgers has had a hell of a year, and nothing really. I mean, even as we get to this past week, I mean, he really didn't perform poorly in that game at all. So, that game was no surprise.
Well, the Rams defense was handcuffed by the lack of Aaron Donald being 100%. I don't know how much he even played in that game. So that kind of changed the whole look of their defense. And he is the centerpiece. So once you had that going against the Rams, there was kind of no chance up at Lambeau, especially with the way, as you said, Aaron Rodgers. The only other game we didn't talk about from the divisional weekend was KC 22, Cleveland 17.
Yeah, I mean, and that game may be a little bit closer because we had a scare going into this week when Mahomesy came up and looked like he had no clue where the fuck he was at.
That was scary.
And that was more of like from his head being pulled upon, which I don't know if it just looked worse in slow motion or.
Yeah, I've heard weird things about that. Yeah, it was almost like he was choked out, like his carotid artery was blocked for a moment, and that's what led to his. That sounds like bullshit to me. Like they just made something up to get him through concussion protocol faster, but because he was dazed getting up, and it didn't seem like his, whatever neck movement or neck manipulation the defense did to him wasn't long enough to make him pass out. It just looked like he got concussed. So
yeah, I
don't know. I mean, we can speculate whatever, but he appeared to be fine this weekend, and hopefully has no long-term ramifications.
And I think I gotta hand it to the Walrus, man. He didn't change how he approached the game just because Chad Henne was the backup. I mean, he did. That dude. I said that dude was all balls that game because
anything is possible.
Anything is possible. To run the fourth, and was it a 4th and 1, right, or a 4th and 3 or something?
Yeah,
it was like a 4th and 3 or something with Chad Henne as your quarterback.
Well, you've got Tony Romo saying there's no chance they go for this. They're just trying to draw him off.
And Romo's never wrong.
No, he's
even
never
tricked
wrong.
Romo.
Totally tricked. Romo had no idea what was coming. He could not predict Chad Henne.
What do they call him? Romo Damas? Romo, like Nostradamus, because he predicted Tampa Bay Chiefs.
Oh, Jesus.
Yeah, this knows what's going on. So shit, man. Like I actually probably enjoyed the end of that game more because Chad Henne was quarterback than if Mahomes was quarterback, because
it totally made it interesting because there wasn't a chance, I didn't think otherwise, and it made it ended up being a 5-point game is all. So you thought there was a real shot.
I really did think at one point, I'm like, shit, the Browns are going to win this game now. That
would have been crazy, but yeah, I thought the same thing.
Especially when it got to 4th down and Henne ran for the 4th down on the one play, and then they got the other 4th down. So, or when it got to 3rd down, he ran for the 1st down and then followed it up with the 4th down conversion. So, he did
what he needed to do.
Yeah, it was really impressive for a journeyman quarterback who's pretty freaking old. So,
Well,
so then that gets us to this weekend.
yeah, that leads into championship weekend, which was a blast, of course. Sunday's games. Well, we've got the upset of TOMpa Bay over Green Bay in the Bay of Pigs matchup. I saw the other stat that Aaron Rodgers has now lost 4 consecutive NFC championship games.
Yep.
The last 4 he's been in, he has lost. And he's won 1 in his career where he did win the Super Bowl, whatever, 10 years ago. So that puts him equal to Rex Grossman in winning number of wins in the NFC championship game, which I thought was hilarious, trying to diminish the accomplishments of one Aaron Rodgers. I think it's pretty obvious Aaron Rodgers is not the problem there. It is lack of support from his front office, from his teammates. There was that. Did you hear the post-game press conference or whatever it was, Zoom call, where he's questioning his future in Green Bay? And
that's a bold statement.
Yeah, and you can't blame him. I mean, they did not, like, you just look at last year's draft, and they didn't do anything to help Aaron Rodgers. You know, they drafted his replacement. In fact, you know, they didn't get him more weapons to use. He just did with what the meager things they gave him, and they're actively working against him. So I don't see why he would want to stick around there. I don't know how that situation can play itself out, if he can demand a trade, or if that's just sort of bluster or emotion right after a devastating loss, or if there's more to that or not. But I guess we'll find out. But yeah, it was such a weird game because I never root for the Packers, but I don't root for Tom Brady either. So this is like, I don't want any of this to happen.
Yeah.
It's just like, what do you do? I guess I'm interested in the novelty of having Tom Brady make it to the Super Bowl with another team, and it's going to get nauseating how much Tom Brady is spoken about and how much we are speaking about him now in future podcasts. But
Tom Brady,
you have to. The motherfucker makes the Super Bowl 18% of all Super Bowls. I mean, this is going to be his 10th Super Bowl.
Yeah, I mean,
that's insane.
They really didn't make it because he threw 3. I mean, the Packers basically lost the game. I mean,
I agree,
3
but
second half interceptions. I mean, they're not all his fault though. I mean, one was off of Evans' hands.
Yeah,
but like
that's going to be the stat that people throw out there. But you're right. Not all interceptions are created equal.
Yeah, but like then there's the other one though, where he just throws it up for grabs, which is like, what are you doing? That was like he's about to get sacked, and instead of like throwing it, or maybe he doesn't have the arm strength to get it to the sideline, I don't know. He throws it just up in the air, and then they intercepted it. But like watching Green Bay, and really the most disappointing part, I think, if you're a Green Bay fan, is the final drive that turned into the field goal, because there was a moment there where it looked like Aaron Rodgers could have ran all the way out of the stadium untouched if he wanted to.
Yeah, a couple curious things there with him not running for it on that play, and then them not going for it, because I mean,
the not going for it was almost like pure arrogance to me on LaFleur's part, because he's like, I've got 4 stops of the clock, and my defense has really held up well in the second half. He basically had already, it's like, when you're in the playoffs, the baseball playoffs, we make these things like you're saving your guy for the game 7 that doesn't happen without winning game 6. Like, nice work. Right. So, it was like, they were like, he's like, oh, we'll get them 3 and out, and then we'll get the ball back.
Yeah. Well,
and they had it because even if the defender isn't holding the dude's jersey on the third and fourth play, that ball is uncatchable. I mean, you have to call the pass interference, but the ball definitely was not going to be catchable. So it was a dumb penalty for him to do. But in the course of that game, I do want to point one thing out, and I haven't really listened to any sports radio at all this week, but I'm assuming they've already pointed out. Matt LaFleur did do one of the the most headsy things I've ever seen a head coach do. It was 2nd and 1 coming out of the 2-minute warning, and they had all 3 of their timeouts left. If you play that down and stop them, it becomes 3rd and 1, but you have to use one of your timeouts. That leaves you with 2 timeouts. If they then get the first down, which the law of averages, if you're looking at a chart, is going to say they're going to get a first down there, then you screwed yourself. You basically lost the game because you're going to run out of timeouts and allow them to run out the clock. He tells the defense when they go back in there to take an offsides, to take an encroachment call, which is when the defender got up there and just touched. He literally touches the center. They whistled the penalty. So they got him to 3rd and 4 with the timeouts. They were about to get the ball back and give it to Aaron Rodgers with like 1 minute and 40 some seconds on the clock. It's going to work out splendidly until that play. And I've just never seen a coach do that before. It's probably happened, but it was really like super heads up. Like I was just like, holy shit, that's so cool that he did that.
Well, I can tell you he is not getting credit for that on social media or sports talk radio. He's getting crushed for not going
for it on 4th down. I know that. I mean, and again, I think it is. I saw the play to me as pure arrogance to think that you were definitely going to get the ball back. I mean, why?
I think the real story of the game, though, is I mean, everyone points to that one play in the end of the game, which is easy to do, but Green Bay didn't take advantage of the turnovers they were given. You know, they
6 points off of 3 turnovers.
Yeah, and they went 3 and out on 2 of those, I think. So it's just like, what? I don't know. I mean, if you get that many opportunities, you need to take care of them, especially when you're at Lambeau in the NFC Championship. You know, you're not going to win if you don't take advantage of those turnovers. So, I mean, that's credit to Tampa's defense. I saw them now. They're called the fucking ears because nobody likes them. So fucking ears. But
there you go.
On the other side, we had a fantastic AFC Championship game with the little known or little thought of Buffalo Bills taking on the defending champion Kansas City Chiefs. Problem was the Bills decided they should just kick a bunch of field goals instead of trying to score touchdowns for some reason against the most potent offense in the NFL. So it just ended up being kind of a, not a very entertaining game by the end, just because the math was easy. Like they kept going, not being aggressive and going for it on 4th or when they could, and just kept settling for field goals. And you're never going to beat Pat Mahomes that way. It's not going to happen. No,
the Bills' chance of winning ended after the fumble and they scored that touchdown. Because after that point, Kansas City just took control of that game. You know what? I do have an interesting theory. Like Patrick Mahomes, I mean, first of all, I don't know if we'll ever see a quarterback like him again. For someone this young to make so little mistakes is amazing to begin with. But his sense of everything that's going around him in the pocket is like, it's like superhero like. It's like he has spidey senses or something.
Well, you hear about the game being way too fast for young players, and that have a hard time seeing what's happening.
Not this guy.
I feel like the game is slower for him than anyone on the field, and it has been since he got on the NFL field. It's amazing.
It's unbelievable. There's probably happened multiple times in the game, but there's like one particular play in the first half where it looks like he's about to get sacked, and just as the defender is reaching out for him, you see him shimmy over to the right, step up, and complete like a 15-yard pass, like nothing was going on. He didn't even get hit.
Unreal.
Like he got out of it. But I have a theory here. As I've watched a lot of Chiefs games this year, I feel like quarterbacks opposing the Chiefs get themselves in trouble because they start thinking they can do Patrick Mahomes shit because they're playing against Patrick Mahomes, and it doesn't work out for them. And I think that happened in multiple times. I don't recall. Why can't I? The Buffalo's quarterback,
Josh Allen.
Josh Allen. Thank you. For some reason, Chase Daniels popped in my head, which is hilarious.
Yeah.
Josh Allen.
That would be the Lions quarterback right now.
I know. Josh Allen. I don't think I saw him at any point this season take 30-yard sack losses.
Oh,
Like he took two.
that.
He took two. He took a 30-yarder, but then he took another huge one because all of a sudden he's acting like he is the mobile quarterback and he's a good runner when presented in that situation. But he's not Patrick Mahomes. He's not Lamar Jackson either. Like he doesn't have that total escapability. And
well, he kept dropping straight back instead of rolling out a little bit so he could get outside the tackle boxes. So he would go straight back, couldn't get to the outside the tackle box, and had no option to even throw it away because he just take a grounding penalty, which he probably should have tried anyway because he was grounded himself. But yeah, I couldn't believe that happened multiple times. It just devastated. It wasn't like it was like a 7-yard loss. He would lose 25, 30 yards on each.
Yes, I know. And my recommendation is if you're playing the Chiefs, just be yourself. Don't try to be Patrick Mahomes because you're not. Yep. It's not going to happen.
Well, I think you don't have to worry about Tom Brady trying to be Pat Mahomes in our Super Bowl matchup. If we want to do a bit of a preview, I don't know that we have any better thoughts than experts out there, but I mean, I'm sticking with my pick of the Kansas City Chiefs to take it all, to repeat as champions, be the first repeat champions since I should have looked this up after the last show. I know the Broncos won in like 98 and 99. I don't know if anyone's done it in the 2000s or the teens. Probably the Patriots did at some point. Although I don't think they ever went back to back, but hard to say. So I think the magic of Tom Brady runs out. He is not undefeated in his 10 Super Bowls. I think this will be his 10th. I think he's 6-3 or 5-3 in Super Bowl, or 5-4, something like that. But there's a lot of interesting storylines with, of course, Pat Mahomes, Tom Brady, Andy Reid. He's been maligned most of his career for never winning the Super Bowl until last year. Now he could win 2 in a row. Is he suddenly one of the greatest coaches of all time? Maybe. If you look at his overall record, it's rather impressive. Bruce Arians, coach on the other side.
It was the Patriots.
03
and 04.
Okay. Well, congratulations. Another record that Tom holds, but just amazing. It's funny. You see Tom Brady and Gronk on social media, just laughing it up, because everyone thinks they were washed up and couldn't do shit. But I mean, Gronk, I think, had 1 catch in that championship game. So it's not like he's
huge catch though.
Yeah, it's true. But so I don't know. What are your thoughts about this coming Super Bowl?
It's going to be a blowout. Chiefs. Nice. I don't think. I think Green Bay's inability to execute made the Tampa Bay defense look better than they were. I think the Bills actually probably walked in with a better defense than what Tampa Bay has, and they were spanked. So. I think it might be tight in the first quarter or so, but the Chiefs will get their rhythm, and I think they'll just pull away in the game. And unfortunately, I mean, I hope I'm wrong. I mean, I don't really have any, except whatever I decide to bet. I don't have any
skin in the game.
Skin in the game, so it's kind of like I hope it's entertaining, but I just don't see it. I really don't. I mean, honestly, I'm not Tony Romo. I'm shocked, that Tampa Bay's there, and the Packers aren't. So the Packers were by far in the NFC really kind of the best NFC team this entire year. So,
well, I think I'm going to give Tampa's defense a little more credit than you are. I mean, they did pretty much shut down the Packers when they needed to at Lambeau Field, so they're doing something right. I still think the Chiefs are going to win. I think it'll be a little closer. It's interesting though, if the Buccaneers figure out a way to actually do the impossible and win this. If you look at the gauntlet that Tom Brady would have to go through to win another Super Bowl, he had to beat, well, it ended up being Heineke or whatever his name is from the football team, but then he had to go through Drew Brees, then he had to go through Aaron Rodgers, then he had to go through Pat Mahomes. So if he wins his 6th Super Bowl title, he has gone through a true gauntlet. I don't see it happening. I had one other point that I don't remember, but you have any closing thoughts on the Super Bowl, or is that about it?
No, that's about it. I am looking forward to the halftime show by the weekend. So, we got that going for us too.
Weekend will be Super Bowl weekend. There's about 50,000 commercials for that during the championship game.
Yeah, Pepsi.
Mm.
Yeah,
all right.
that's all I got. Let's talk about the new funniest. Are we talking about the funniest coach in football now, or no?
Well, let's take a bit of a break. And
that's right. We're gonna go to a commercial break.
Yeah, we'll take a break here, and we'll be right back on the Word Hole Media Network.
Word Hole Media.
All right. Let's talk about my Detroit Lions, who are making more news than pretty much anyone in the NFL right now, it feels like, or maybe it just feels like that for me. They have, since we last joined you, they have a new general manager. They have a new front office advisor that is noteworthy. They have a new head coach who may also be a WrestleMania star. They have the biggest trade rumors you could throw out there, where their quarterback is agreeing and possibly requesting a trade. So I guess let's start this chronologically. The first thing that happened a couple weeks ago is the Lions hired their new general manager, Brad Holmes, from the LA Rams. He was their director of college scouting. Don't know a ton about him because I don't know how much you know about different directors of college scouting across the league, but
you don't know.
Those guys don't know up too much. I mean, first thing I heard about him is, he's the next Ozzie Newsome, which fuck yeah, that sounds great to me. That's the guy that built the Ravens of the 2000s into the dynasty they became. So I'd be all for that. I don't know what evidence there is that he is the next Ozzie Newsome, but we'll find out, I guess. I do have to give him credit. And the one thing that is certainly on his resume is being a college scout director is he was integral in the Rams drafts over the last several years, which includes drafting Aaron Donald, who the Lions should have drafted instead of drafting Eric Ebron. So he's got one check. He's already better than what the Lions have been doing in that. So he's a winner in my book already. Like I said, we'll see. I think it's more important what a GM puts around him. And I feel like they're putting a pretty good support staff around him, at least with the addition of front office consultant John Dorsey, which is a huge coup in my mind to get him to come to the Lions. He's admittedly a difficult person. You could just look at his resume, how many different jobs he's had recently, but he gets fucking results. I mean, he is the architect of the Cleveland Browns that you see in front of you now. He drafted Baker Mayfield. He drafted Nick Chubb. He's also his previous job was with the Kansas City Chiefs, and he drafted Pat Mahomes of all people. So the dude knows what he's doing. The Lions have no idea what they're doing in the draft is very evident. So I like getting people in the front office around there that have shown they know what the fuck they're doing in the draft, and that's what they need more than anything. If Dorsey's a difficult person that can't stay in a job very long, fine. This is why he's not a GM now and just a consultant. Maybe he can. They could take him with a grain of salt since he won't be there on the day to day. They just call him up when they need some advice. That might be the perfect role for him.
Yeah.
So I like those moves for sure. Uh, the most interesting move of the last couple weeks is their hiring of Dan Campbell as their new head coach. And you and I should know a little bit about Dan Campbell, as he was a tight end for 10 years in the league for, I think, 4 different teams, but 2 of those were your Dallas Cowboys and my Detroit Lions.
That's right. He was.
Do you remember him at all? I don't know why you'd remember a backup behind Jason Witten necessarily, but
I do remember Dan Campbell's name being called a few times because he used to run many a double tight end set back then. So, but I think he was. I know him most because I think he went from the Giants to the Cowboys.
Okay. Oh wow, that's
yeah. Or maybe it was vice versa. I don't know. But he was an NFC East for a little bit, so you just kind of knew his name.
Well, I hadn't heard of him. I should have heard of him. He was the interim coach back in 2015 of the Miami Dolphins when they had fired some inept asshole. But he went 5-7 as interim coach. I don't know if you listen to Dan Le Batard's show. I'm a disciple, I think, because I listen to, it's a podcast now, but I listen to everything. They were talking about, they're a Miami show, so they knew all about Dan Campbell when he was hired for the Lions. They had many nicknames for him and kind of making fun of his meathead persona, run through walls type guy that he is.
Yeah.
They just called him Man Campbell. Because he's a man. I think Dan Le Batard called him a bicep with a mouth. Like, that's just how it is. I didn't know anything about it. I didn't know anything about his speech patterns or anything such until I read about it. Until he did his press conference. They introduced him as the former tight ends coach of the New Orleans Saints, and he came out to his introductory press conference like he was a WWE superstar. it was an hour plus of just nonstop verbal diarrhea of just mannish, just brutish.
It was
cliches.
It was definitely brutish. Yes.
I want to give him my own nickname. Like, the first thing I thought of was he sounded like Stone Cold Steve Austin. So I mean, is this Stone Cold Dan Campbell? Is this Macho Man Dan Campbell? I don't know. He just sounded like a perfect wrestling heel or babyface, whatever they're called. Just too funny. I mean, the biggest quote that came out of his press conference was something about, our mentality is going to be, you're going to punch us in the mouth, we'll fall down, but we're going to bite your kneecap off. Then next time we'll stand up, you'll punch us twice and we'll fall down. Then we're going to go after your other kneecap. It was just an hour and a half of that. It's just unreal.
I was dying. I was like, when I didn't see it live, I see this clip of him giving that portion of the speech, and I was just like, wait, is this really the Lions' new head coach?
This is real. This is happening.
This is happening. And the fact that then in the same story was about his nickname's the Dude.
Yeah, of all the nicknames I want to come up with, he has his own, and it's now on the wall of his office, or the nameplate. He has his official nickname, the Dude. I mean, he thinks he is Jeff Bridges, Jeffrey Lebowski.
He's way too intense for Jeffrey Lebowski. He's more he's more subject than subject than.
Dude, are you fucking this up?
You're out of your element, Donnie.
So, I mean, my favorite part of the press conference is when he actually swore in the middle of it. It actually spoke to me because he was talking about how different Lions coaches have come in and said different things. Like, you guys have already heard all this shit.
Yeah, I know, that was great. I love that. That was great.
So he knew he was just throwing bullshit everywhere, and it's just what he's supposed to do in an opening press conference. So I kind of like the honesty. I kind of like the non-polished. I kind of like the lack of arrogance that we saw from the previous regime. We had a rocket scientist who had a pencil behind his ear, who was an absolute fat slob, disgusting human being. We've got the opposite of that.
And he's going back to the Patriots, I hear.
Yeah, I've heard that. Yeah, I'm not surprised. He's always got a soft place in Bill Belichick's heart for whatever reason. But I don't know. We went from the rocket scientist to a complete meathead, so why not? I mean, it didn't work with a rocket scientist, so I'm all for it.
I mean, I really do think I don't think dude's the right name because like I could see him giving the speech. Do you like getting fucked in the ass? Do you like fucking people in the ass? This is what it's like.
You see what happens. You see what happens when you fuck a stranger in the ass.
Yes. Oh my god, I could just see him giving that speech.
I could totally see it.
So anyway, he's definitely going to be tied to Lebowski this whole regime. So
it's going to be entertaining if nothing else. So
yeah, I don't know. I like it. It's just everything's so different from a non-Lions fan point of view looking into this that I'd be feeling pretty good, or at least optimistic compared to past years about what's to come of the Lions. And you got the best news of all is like what you've been asking for. It's like the quarterback odyssey of I mean, it's strange that there's not better things to be said, but I mean, it's coming to an end, thankfully.
Well,
it looks like.
I mean, I've declared on this podcast that I'm done with Matt Stafford. Not that he's a bad guy, or not even that he's a bad player. He's just, his time in Detroit needed to come to an end. It just doesn't work. He's not what Detroit needs. We have done this for 12 years. We know who Matt Stafford is. We know who the Lions are. It seems like it should have worked. It never worked for whatever reason. You can blame him. You can blame his surrounding cast. You can blame the front office. You can blame everybody, but it's not going to work with Matt Stafford. And finally, Matt Stafford and the Lions have come to that same conclusion.
Oh my God.
I can only think is a positive at this point.
I got the perfect idea for you.
What's that?
For the Lions. You just send Stafford over to the Packers. The Packers send over Rodgers because he wants out and everybody's happy.
Well, we're going to get into I think that might be the least plausible theory I've heard yet, but I like you're thinking outside the box at least.
Yeah, I mean, I'm giving you guys a Super Bowl playoff ready quarterback here.
We'll see. Yeah, I'll take it. Yeah, sign me up. How do we make this happen? But somehow I don't think that's going to happen.
Although the other rumor is, of course, him going to another team in the Central that needs a quarterback. Or the North, I'm sorry, that needs a quarterback.
I haven't heard this.
Oh, I don't know. I've read a lot of articles on what the Bears should do to get Matthew Stafford.
Well, they don't have a high enough draft pick to give to us at this point, so fuck that. That doesn't work for me at all. I've got lots of scenarios that do work for me, though.
All right, fire away.
I don't know. I think it's interesting, though, that it sounds like Stafford went to ownership and said, you know what, I'm ready for a change. If you guys are, I mean, it sounded very mutual, but it sounded like he approached the Lions with this. It wasn't the Lions went to him to say, hey, we want out. I think there's speculation that that was triggered basically when it was found out that Darrell Bevell wasn't coming back as the OC. It's going to be, is this Adam Lind? Oh, shit, I always miss his first name. The quarterback coach of the Rams that just got fired, the head coach, but he's coming in as our offensive coordinator. So maybe Stafford just didn't want yet another year with the Lions learning a new playbook. You know, if he's going to learn a new playbook, it should be in a brand new atmosphere wherever he wants to go. He did put his house on the market today, I think. Pretty sweet house, actually. He's got a indoor basketball court, of course, but it has the Pistons' literal old floor in his indoor basketball court. He took that from the Palace or wherever it was. So
cool.
Congrats to him. But so the trade rumors and speculation is just that, rumors and speculation. I don't think anyone has any idea, but it does sound like teams are lining up to make offers or to find out at least what it would take to get Stafford off of the Lions' hands, which is a fantastic scenario if we can create competition for trade competition to get, the highest bid out of this. My mentality is always going to be the Lions are going to fuck this up somehow. But if you look at this on the surface, the paybacks that are being tossed around is, what Stafford could get on the market would be, it starts with a first round pick, and maybe it's multiple first round picks. I think that's a little outrageous, not realistic, but I think a first round pick is, along with maybe a second round pick. I've seen lots of speculation it'd take a first and 2 seconds. Awesome. I mean, this is the way you start from scratch. And this is what I wanted all along with the Lions, just to be able to wipe the slate clean and just start over. And this last week is literally everything I've been asking for. So the other scenarios beyond just draft picks or whatever are wild speculation, like you had about the trading disgruntled quarterbacks and Aaron Rodgers. I don't see that happening for a lot of reasons, but one being they're in the same division. I don't see how.
Oh no, it's a funny idea though.
But I mean, not that a division rival couldn't be part of a trade. I don't really see a match with the Bears. Honestly, I don't think they could offer as much as other teams are going to be offered, like a high first round pick and whatever else. The one thing I haven't fully understood and what popped into my head right away, the greedy fan that I am, and maybe just ignorant, but there was a name out there a week before this that wants a trade, and his name is Deshaun Watson. He wants out of his dysfunctional organization. He's really offended. Actually, he's quite angry about what's happening with his organization, and that's why he's demanding a trade. Seems like a nice swap. Actually, I think the Lions would have to give up more than Stafford to get Watson, even though Watson's kind of tipped his hand that he has tipped the Texans' hand that they have no leverage because he's demanding this trade. But the Texans might be interested because they could step up right away and have a ready-made quarterback ready to go in Stafford, and potentially get the Lions. Would the Lions give up Stafford and a first round, their number 7 overall pick, or maybe a second round pick? I think I'd do that I think I'd definitely do that to get Deshaun Watson in Detroit. I think the main sticking point around that, and that's why it doesn't get talked about a whole lot, is Watson has a no trade clause, so he can just say, fuck you, I'm not going to Detroit. Why would I do that? It's a ridiculously terrible franchise that's in a complete rebuild now. So I think that's the main reason that wouldn't happen. Fortunately, though, there's many other potential suitors there. I mean, there's so many teams out there that it just seems to make a lot of sense. So the timing couldn't be better for Matt to want out. I think the top of the list is the Colts. With Phillip Rivers retiring and definitely showing that he was a fossil and couldn't throw it into the end zone on a critical Hail Mary at the end of their playoff game against the Bills. They need a younger quarterback. They need a quarterback. They have nobody right now. So Stafford seems would fit right into a team that's ready to compete right now. I don't know what their draft capital is. They seem like a fairly responsible team that hasn't traded away all their draft picks as the Bears have over the last several years. So I have a feeling they have more to offer. The other big possible landing spot that makes a lot of sense for both sides would be San Francisco. Another team that was in the Super Bowl last year, has championship aspirations, that just does not have an experienced quarterback that can put them over the top. And I think in a situation like that, and Stafford could thrive, where he's with a competent organization that has everything else built around him, and then he just fills in. He doesn't have to be Superman. He doesn't have to make questionable, stupid decisions at the worst moment. He can be a little more conservative and let his teammates pick him up if he needs to, or that was not the case for all these years in Detroit. So I think those are two really plausible scenarios. There's been speculation about, New Orleans, if Breeze is indeed retired. New England, we saw what a disaster they were with Cam Newton. They've got to go to plan B. And there is obviously there used to be a relationship between New England and the Lions that's now severed. So I don't know if there's any juice there, but I don't know. I'm sure there's lots of other teams I'm missing right now. Have you heard other rumors?
Well, I mean, you would think I haven't heard any rumors, but the teams looking for quarterbacks. I mean, the Jets are one team that would be looking for a quarterback. Because apparently they're ready to move on. But don't be surprised. The Deshaun Watson comment you made or theory you put out there. He's not worried about necessarily going to play for a winner. He wants to go play for someone who he wants to play for, because the rumor out there is his number one team he wants to go to is the New York Jets because of because they hired
because they got Robert Saleh.
Yeah, because they got Robert Saleh, and he wants.
That was the big sticking point. The rumor was that the ownership asked Deshaun what he wanted, if he wanted to be involved in the coach and GM hiring process. And he said, "Fuck yeah!" And then they didn't involve him. So it's like,
right.
So that's where this all came to a head, where he's just like, what the fuck are you guys doing? Like, why would you ask me that and then not give me any say? And his choice would have been Robert Saleh. So. Yeah, that's interesting. So he wants to literally just go play for him. And he was my top candidate to coach the Lions, which didn't happen. So that would have been an incredible scenario if we could have got my number one coaching pick and then have Deshaun Watson drop in your fucking lap. But
yeah, I mean, that would have. But maybe there's something, because that was all before all these moves happened too with the Lions. So who knows where the Lions are on his list now? The weirdest thing is his number 2 team is the Dolphins, but the Dolphins don't need him. So that's just
the Dolphins might. I mean, I've heard a lot of speculation that they're not thinking Tua is necessarily the shit anymore, and they might be open to trading him away. That's why any team might be interested. If the Dolphins are interested, they have capital they could trade between draft picks and throwing Tua in the deal. If another team thinks he is the real deal, I think that'd be giving up on Tua way too quick. But
yeah, me too. But whatevs. Yeah, we'll see.
I heard football team might be in the Stafford mix. Since they have a guy that sounds like a combination of a Heineken beer and Meineke car repair shops or whatever they're called.
Yes.
They're struggling for a QB. Thought I had one more written down here. Maybe that's it. Denver is another one that came to mind that has popped up. I'm not sure if that's feasible too, but I don't know. I think it's the quantity that I find intriguing. It feels like half the league is looking for a quarterback right now. So the timing couldn't be better for Stafford to want out. He is 32 years old. He's not ancient. He's been in the league for 12 years, but he's not ancient by any means. He's 32. The Lions are going to have to absorb a $19 million hit to the salary cap in dead money. But that's down from like 29 million if they had let him go last year. So they have been way under the salary cap the last several years. So I don't see that as an issue at all. The other nuts and bolts of this is he's going to have to be traded before March 20th, which I think is when the league year begins. Because he's due a $10 million signing bonus before, like, as soon as the league year kicks in. So they're going to do everything they can to trade his ass before that. But I'm a little worried about that, in that teams are going to wait, and not make their final offer until the last second, just trying to get away, trying to use that signing bonus as leverage to, not give their best offer until really late in the game. So we might not hear a whole lot. It's only the end of January right now. So we've got about 2 months to go before we reach that point. So we might have a couple months of this wild speculation to talk about a mediocre quarterback, underachieving quarterback throughout his career. That seems to be one of the hottest commodities on the market.
Yeah, we'll see what happens there.
And I don't blame you, but I can see you're already getting tired of this Lions conversation since I've been talking for 20 minutes on it now. I don't have a whole lot else to say. Do you have any news about your Dallas Cowboys that you want to?
We've said the word draft a few times, and the Cowboys, as I mentioned in prior shows, are in a unique position because they are drafting much higher than they anticipated when the season began. And fact, with the way the team was put together and put on the field, the idea was they'd be drafting towards the bottom of the first round, but instead they're drafting at the number 10 spot. So they're going to, the first two rounds, obviously they're going to end up in with some pretty good picks. But one of the things I want to talk about is they're saying at the number 10 pick, the Cowboys are going to have the opportunity probably to get Patrick Surtain the second, the cornerback from Alabama, who basically is a cornerback teams just decided not to even throw against.
Yeah.
Most of the year. He took an entire side of the field off the table. Now, the Cowboys recently drafted Diggs, also from Alabama, who had a great rookie year. He had 14 deflections. He only played in 12 of the games, had 2 interceptions. So if you have Diggs on one side and Surtain on the other side, you've already you're making the necessary steps to totally pushing this defense into the next level, along with, of course, a new defensive scheme that seems to fit the players they actually have on the team versus trying to make the players play to a defensive scheme that they don't really fit into. So
that's the 4-3 versus the 3-4 or vice versa.
Yeah, right, exactly. Versus the 3-4. The other name that's out there to help defensively is Kwity Paye, the defensive end from defensive tackle from Michigan. So they're going to be able to get healthy on defense right away, and then probably the next thing on their list will be offensive line. And due to the fact of having zero depth after your main guys get injured, is a really bad problem that put them in a really bad position. So I think lots of good things to come from them. The question for the Cowboys is there something that they have that they are willing to part with to somehow get 2 first-round picks, because they can fix the team with the amount of – there's a lot of talent in this draft at the positions that they need talent on. They could basically fix the holes in the team with 3 picks in the first 2 rounds. So I don't know what that move is, but that'd be a curious move if they're able to pull something like that off.
I mean, off the top of my head, you trade back. They've got the number 10 overall pick. It depends on what they're looking at. If they want more first round picks, the easiest way is to trade one and move back for, maybe it might not be a first round pick of this year, but it might be next year. But you don't see a whole lot of players getting traded for first round picks. I think you might be able to get maybe an early second round pick. Is probably more realistic. I don't know. I don't know. That's interesting. I think a lot of teams are going to be wanting to do that. I know for a fact, every year the Lions go into a draft, I want them to trade back just to load up on picks, and it never happens, whether that's incompetence on their part or if it's just really hard to pull off, to find the right trading partner in the right scenario. But yeah, I think that's kind of everyone's goal usually, is to get more picks in the first round, but we'll see if they can pull it off. When is the draft anyway?
Sometime in April. I don't know the exact date. So.
Well, we've got some time to figure this out and tell everyone what they should be doing.
Yeah, and we will. Don't worry, folks. We will.
Well, I don't know if is that all for your Dallas Cowboys talk? I don't want to cut you short.
No, that's all I've got this week.
Well, I don't know if we'll come back next week, considering there are no games this weekend and there's not much happening in the college realm either, but we'll certainly do a Super Bowl post-game show at some point after that. In the meantime, be on the lookout for our podcast, which we will put up probably tomorrow. You can find us on social media and on the web at Limpditkas and limpditkas.com. You can find our podcast everywhere you'd like to find a podcast. And I guess with that, I'm going to call this Dagger Time. We out. Peace.
Word Hole Media.